Okay, many years ago, after the return to civilian democracy in 1999, we used to use such expressions as, oh, the Nigerian democracy is putative, the Nigerian democracy is inchoate, and the expectation then was that the democratic process will grow, lessons will be learned, and there will be better consolidation in terms of the democratic process in Nigeria. But unfortunately, years later, 1999 to 2025, what we are seeing is that the professional political class has refused to learn its lessons. What we are seeing, too, is that the institutions of state continue to fail the people and the country. Hence, the democratic process in Nigeria, you can still say, is still in a developmental state, because the right lessons have not been learned, the right improvements have not occurred, despite several revisions of the Electoral Act, the Enabling Electoral Act. You can count up to about 10 revisions of the Electoral Act since 1999. Now, that said, the second thing is that the most recent election was the 2023 general election, at the end of which the conversation was again about electoral reform. And commentators on the subject have already identified areas of improvement, either in terms of performance of the electoral umpire, or in terms of the attitude of the political parties, or in terms of punishment for electoral offenders and reducing the degree of infractions. Now, after that 2023 election, we have now had by-elections in 16 constituencies in 2 states, by-elections conditioned, ordered, enabled by deaths, resignations, court-ordered reruns. And what have we seen? What did we see over the weekend? Just 16 constituencies in 2 states. The same old problem, reinforcing the fact that lessons have not been learned, that the political class has not changed its color, and that institutions continue to fail. How did the institution fail? Beavers in Edo State. Beavers did not work in Edo State. Still, despite the fact that this was just a small-scale election materials arrived late in certain places. 2, you had vote by. In Ikperu, Remo, a certain Mitsubishi van was intercepted containing about 2.5 million naira, in cash, that some persons who said they collected the money from a man called Political Solution were going to give to the electorate at the polling booths. Now, what is the political solution? Cash, vote buying. In Ogun, Kano, and one other state, a total of 288 thugs were arrested. Those thugs, what will be their main trait? It will be violence. In 2 constituencies in Kano State, the PDP and other political parties have requested for the cancellation of the elections in those constituencies by INEC. In other words, just to speak broadly, in Enugu State, in one polling booth, a serving minister of state was booed by the electorate, who were wondering what he was doing at the polling booth, trying to influence the process. So that's that about, general trends and behavior. And that is why I think that these by-elections will have to remind us that INEC still has to do a lot more, and the imperative of electoral reform is non-negotiable. We need to take a second look at it, and we have to take it more seriously. And that reform must not come 2-3 weeks to the election. It must come. We could have had the opportunity to test some of those reforms. This beavers never works. It didn't work in 2019. It failed us in 2023. Is it going to fail us again in 2027? With all the protestations by the electoral umpire that they have digitalized and modernized their operations. We do not see that evidence. This by-election over the weekend is a poor comment on the growth of the electoral process in Nigeria. However, the presidency, speaking through Mr. Bayo Ononuga, says it was violence-free. Beavers not working, vote buying, attempts by thugs, and all of the efforts by politicians to manipulate the process. That in itself is a form of violence. Students of violence, of the theory of violence, will know that it's not only when you carry hammer and machete that you are engaged in violence. There are levels of violence. I don't want to theorize on that this morning because it's not relevant to the immediate discussion.